Two of the chapters look at interrelated themes. One is on the Gezira Sporting Club in Cairo, the other is on Raffles Hotel in Singapore. And what these buildings enable us to address are the issues of itinerant Europeans and wealthy people travelling around the empire needing places to stay, and also the formation of clubs that happened wherever the British went. The first things they would do would be to found a Masonic lodge, erect a racecourse and found a club, and then shortly after that a public school. So what happens in the case of the Gezira Sporting Club is that the British arrive as an occupying force in Egypt. They oblige the Khedive to make over some of the land on Gezira Island in the middle of the Nile so that they could found a club, initially so that they could play polo, something that was considered very important for horsemanship associated with cavalrymen. It then becomes very rapidly one of these elite European watering holes that largely exclude the indigenous people. What's fascinating about it, to illustrate this transition from colonial rule to independence, is that once the British are booted out of Egypt, it retains its function but just becomes a club for elite Caireans and Egyptian nationals. Alcohol is banned, but it still to this day fulfills its function not only as one of the rare lungs in an ever congested mega city, but very much as an elite watering hole and sporting venue. The other one is Raffles, which grew from a bungalow on Beach Road in Singapore, had its famous glorious white butterfly wings added in the late 1890s, and became this iconic hotel, this way station as Europeans travelled around the world by ship, and this home of the social life of sort of upcountry planters and colonial types, renowned in the Roaring Twenties for its dances and its liquor and its good times. What's interesting about this place, that it's seen as such an iconic colonial building, but it was never British. This was a building that was in many ways part of the first great Asian hotel chain, and it was owned and built by Armenians, which is quite an interesting aside upon the kind of history that you can often find in these buildings. What's also interesting about it is by the post-Second World War period it was considered to be rather tired. Increasingly jets meant that people weren't stopping off by ship in Singapore, and there are actually plans in the 70s to knock it down and build a new sort of international style high-rise hotel. It wasn't until, as happened in many of these countries and is still happening to this day, in the 1980s the Singapore government became much more aware of the colonial heritage sides to tourism and the marketing thereof, that it became very much part of a renovation plan and package. So we still have preserved to this day in aspic, to some extent, the original Raffles Hotel.